It's Mrs. K here. We're going to continue on with the Littles and their amazing new friend. And we're on chapter 7. So let's get comfortable. When they arrived back at the Nunsuch's house, Tom and Glory discovered Cousin Dinky dangling from a tall bush in the front yard. His parachute suspension lines were caught in the branches. He was slowly swinging to and fro, shaking his head, a wide smile on his face. In a few moments, he cut himself loose and came down from the bush. "This is the amazing Glory," said Tom to Cousin Dinky. "She's my new friend." "Hi, Glory," said Cousin Dinky. "Where am I?" "You were on our farm in our front yard," said Glory. "How did you get here?" "I followed the brook," Cousin Dinky said. "I always follow brooks. Lost people usually follow a brook because it will lead them out of the woods. This time I decided Nick and Tom had probably been blown up the hill to the top." Cousin Dinky pointed to the sky and waved. "There goes Della," he said. "She's heading for home in her glider." "Della's his wife," Tom explained to Glory. "She was flying the glider that Dinky jumped from. He's going to repair our balloon so we can fly home." "Do you mean there's a woman flying in that thing making it go?" said Glory. "How could that be?" "Della's a good pilot," Tom said. "She knows what she's doing." "Oh, that's wonderful," said Glory. She ran into the house to tell her mother. Justice came walking up the path from the barn to see what was going on. He looked at the parachute in the bush and Cousin Dinky on the ground. Then he looked at Tom. "I missed something important, didn't I?" he said. Tom nodded. Cousin Dinky jumped out of the glider, fell toward the ground, pulled up the ripcord to open the parachute, and landed in this bush, said Tom. "We missed seeing all of it." Justice laughed. "So if no one saw it, there's no proof," he said. "Ha, it's a mystery." Just then Uncle Nick and Mr. Nunsuch came into the yard on the horseback, returning from their ride. "It's not a mystery, Justice," said Mr. Nunsuch. "The Major and I saw the glider and the parachute jump and land. It really is true. People can fly in the air. I can't get over it. It's magnificent." Cousin Dinky's eyes looked like saucers. He stammered. "What? He pointed. "Those are tiny horses?" He turned to Uncle Nick. "Did I land on my head? Am I in cuckoo land? There are no such thing as tiny horses." He pinched himself hard. "Ouch!" he said. "I'm not asleep. It must be true." "We have goats too," said Justice. "All of the other farm animals died out years ago." Just then Glory came out of the front door with her mother, who, smiling happily for once, was cradling something furry and white. Glory held a tiny bit of a black fur. "Cats?" said Tom. "You have tiny cats too?" "I didn't see them in the house." "They are shy at first with strangers," Mrs. Nunsuch said. Glory handed her black cat to the amazed Tom. "Incredible," he said as he stroked the soft fur. The cat purred and licked his hand. "Our forefathers believed that cats were good luck," Glory told him. "So they kept their cats very safe and comfortable on the trail west. Ever since, we had cats on our farm." Glory's mother added, "This beautiful white-haired cat, Rosie, is 14 years old. Glory's black cat, called Squeaky, is the great-great-great-grandson of Rosie and would rather squeak than say meow." After admiring the cats, Cousin Dinky and Mr. Nunsuch took the cracked hot air pump to the village, where under Cousin Dinky's directions, the blacksmith repaired it. They brought the pump back to the Nunsuch farm and went right to work attaching it to the red balloon's basket. "What luck," Cousin Dinky said. "The wrench, I threw it in the basket when the balloon broke away, and it's still here. I can sure use that thing to loosen the stuck valve." As Cousin Dinky and Uncle Nick worked at the task, the tiny pilot explained what he was doing and how the stove pump worked. The Nunsuch family was fascinated. In a short time, the work was done. Cousin Dinky turned to the family and bowed low. "That's it, folks," he said. They clapped their hands in admiration. "Excellent," said Mr. Nunsuch. Justin grinned at his dad. Cousin Dinky looked up at the clouds moving across the sky. "The wind is blowing in the right direction to fly the balloon home," he said. He returned to Tom and Uncle Nick. "The family is very worried about the two of you. We need to leave now." "Oh, no," said Glory. She ran to Tom. "It's too soon. We've just begun to be friends. You can't go so soon." Tears welled up in her eyes. Tom looked at Cousin Dinky. Could we write letters to each other?" he said. "I could tell her all about our adventures, and Glory could tell me about hers." "We could try, Tom," said Cousin Dinky. "When the wind is right, I could fly up here and parachute letters to Glory and the Nonsuches. But I need to figure out how I can pick up their mail from here." He looked at Mr. Nonsuch. "I'm not so sure that we could do this," said Mr. Nonsuch. "We farm tinies have kept to ourselves for many years, and we have our own way of doing things. I think that we might have trouble if our ways are changed by too much contact between our families." "No, Father, no," yelled Glory. She burst into tears. "It's too late, Mr. Nonsuch," said his wife. "Glory already knows there are places where women and girls are treated as equal to men and boys." Uncle Nick spoke softly to Cousin Dinky. "It's time to go, Dinky." He turned to Mr. Nonsuch. "Mr. Nonsuch, sir, we appreciate what you have done for us. You have a great way of life here, and we honor and respect it. We certainly hope we have not disturbed you too much with our foreign actions or opinions. It's a big world, and there's room for many different ways of living and understanding what life is all about. We hope you'll remember us fondly as we will remember you. It has been a most interesting time in our lives." Suddenly, a large number of farm tinies from the village arrived at the scene. They wanted to meet the strangers from the big valley who flew in the sky in a magical flying machine. Uncle Nick, Tom, and Cousin Dinky shook hands with all the people. Then Uncle Nick climbed into the balloon's basket. "All aboard, littles!" he yelled. Cousin Dinky fired up the hot air pump, opened a valve, and the aircraft began to rise. Tom hung over the edge of the basket, waving at the Nonsuches. Glory broke away from her mother's embrace and ran toward Tom. At the last moment, she made a great leap up and touched his reaching hand. "Don't ever forget me, Tom," she cried out. "I won't," Tom said. "I'll come back someday." "Honest?" "Honest." In a few moments, the balloon was a red dot in the sky, heading down off the steep hill. And that's the end of chapter 7. So, boys and girls, I'd like you to think of these 2 questions for this chapter. Who was Tom's new friend? And why was Glory sad to see Tom leave? Until we meet again.